Hey guys, so Vatsal here from Skilling, and I welcome you all to this Ask Me Anything session. So feel free to kind of tell tell me about your questions, tell me about your doubts, and what kind of help you are looking for in electrical engineering. And a few things about this session is we are going to kind of make this session interactive rather than I keep on speaking about the topics. We will be allowing the audience to ask direct questions, and we will also kind of elaborate more in detail, and we will try to address your queries as in detail way as possible. Yeah, so thank you very much for participating. And if you are new to Skilling, let me get started with this. So Skilling is a platform where uh, we provide industry relevant courses to engineering students. We started with mechanical engineering, and now we are in electrical engineering, and we have courses related to civil as well as computer engineering as well. So I take care of electrical electronics related courses at Skilling, and in this session we are going to take uh, Q&A or ask me anything related to your doubts on electrical engineering as a whole domain, as well as if you are interested in specific subdomain within the electrical engineering, I will be happy to answer those questions. And we will also look at what are the skilling courses that we are offering, and how those courses can benefit your career. So we have Hari. Hi, Hari. So guys, feel free to type your question into the chat box. It will be great that we will answer those queries. Okay, so Pratik is asking, hello sir, what is the role of CAE FEA domain in electrical electronics? Good question, Pratik. So now let's say, let us think of not in terms of uh, domains where we have segregated electrical as one unit, mechanical as one, civil as another. But let us think of what are the engineering services and what are the products. So let's think of a product which is, let's say, a Xerox machine or a copier, right? Or it's a scanner, printer, and copier machine, right? Now, what kind of design does go inside the product? So yes, you need to kind of think of how you are going to roll the papers, how you are going to take care of images coming from the computers through USB or through LAN, and a lot of things related to motors inside that. You need a power supply, you need probably colors also adjusted if it's a color printer. So if you think of product engineering, so product engineering is actually the combination of different engineering disciplines. So think of a printer, it's not only electronic engineering product. You have to take care of how you are going to manage with the colors, right? So probably there is a material science, and probably you need to understand what kind of papers you are using, right? How the printer is going to take care of papers from different trade, right? So there is a lot of computer engineering, a lot of electronics engineering, and a lot of mechanical engineering also involved in case of a printer design. So, and nowadays, let's say we are just talking about a printer which can print on papers, right? But there are a lot of advancements in the printing technology that you can print over a plastic material as well. You can print over a different type of material as well, and they are called as 3D printers. So 3D printers have changed entirely the domain of mechanical engineering as well, and electrical and electronic engineering, where the people are doing the prototyping. So any such product, right, where you see it's a combination of many different disciplines, right? So how mechanical engineering is involved in case of a printer. So when you have a printer, you just need to take care of dimensions of the page, right? Probably you need to take care of how to understand only one page is going to be get lifted up, right? How you take care of basically those effect, right, of heat generated while printing, right? And how you take care of optical design, right? How you take care of so when you have a printer, you do not want that printer to be the size of a room, right? So how compact it can be. Now, whether can it be a portable printer and can it be battery operated, right? So again, those are the things which you need to look at from electrical electronic point of view. So electrical and electronics is a very vast domain, and if we talk about CAE and FEA, right? So how is the structure going to be designed, right? And if we specifically talk about electric vehicles, how CAE and FEA are applicable to electric vehicles. So let's say in automotive domain and electrical electronics engineering, it's very important to have lightweight structure, right? So the moment you see the battery operated devices, they are very tiny and small, and they have to be low power consumption. So in order for your vehicle to be low power consumption, you need to think of a lightweight structure of a vehicle. So lightweight design of the vehicle is one of the area where you do the structural analysis and you do finite element analysis for the vehicle. Now, apart from this, how you are going to mount the motors, how you are going to fix the batteries, how you are going to arrange kind of design of, let's say, how the customer is going to plug in the charger, right? And what will be the experience on the steering, right, to the customer or the driver, and what kind of structural related changes are required from electric vehicle point of view. So those all responsibilities come under CAE and FEA domain for the mechanical engineer. So, so my answer to Pratik's question is all the domains are interrelated, and I will say this product engineering is actually interdisciplinary engineering, and every product will have some kind of involvement of FEA domain and CAE domain. So I have given some of the example which are related to electric vehicle for CAE and FEA. I hope that helps. And apart from that, there are a lot of design and development related to structures related to. So when you talk about lightweighting of electric vehicle, you can make it most lightweight, right? But at the same time, you are looking for crash worthiness as well, right? Your vehicle should be very stable while running at a very high speed. So if you design a vehicle which is very, very low weight, then the stability may be an issue at a high speed. Safety may be an issue at a high speed. So there are contradictory parameters like this, and there are so many, right? So an engineer's role is to kind of strike a balance between how much less weight and how much is the strength, right, of a particular product which you are designing. So I will move to the next question. So Hari is asking, sir, I am electrical student. After my engineering, what are the paths and I can choose in both private and public sector? Okay, so thanks, Hari, for asking this question. So electrical engineering is a vast field. Sometimes people include instrumentation control, electronics engineering, and even computer engineering under the umbrella of electrical engineering. But I'm going to answer this question with reference to pure electrical engineering, right, which is related to electrical power. Now, when you talk about the opportunities in public and private sector related to electrical power, you actually have a lot of opportunity in terms of electrical engineer or graduate engineer trainee at various companies which are handling power, which are, let's say we start from how the power is generated. So the power plant engineering, right? There are a lot of requirements of electrical engineering there, electrical engineers in those companies. If you come to, let's say, those government organizations such as BHEL, NTPC, right? Or there are many other government and a lot of companies related to marine engineering, aerospace, and automotive as well. So there are a lot of opportunities for electrical engineers in those companies. Starting from generation, there are a lot of electrical engineering companies which deals with power transmission, power distribution, and then the entire domain comes where you have electrical products and electrical appliances. So starting from power generation to power transmission, distribution, and power utilization. Power utilization may be in terms of domestic, industrial usage, or it may be related to what we call as a railways, right, or such heavy engineering domains. So there are a lot of public sector vacancies in electrical engineering, as I explained. Now, what about private sector? So private sectors companies are equally engaged into power generation. Let it be new power generation, such as your solar and wind power. Then there are a whole lot of companies. Whether you are talking about the electrical power transmission and distribution. So there is Reliance Energy, Tata Power, and a lot of other private players into this domain. And there are a lot of vacancies with those companies as well. And if you come to the power utilization, there is a very large spectrum of power utilization. So power utilization comes as consumer electronics products such as air conditioners, washing machines, refrigerators, and so on, right? Even you can consider companies who are manufacturing tube lights, LED bulbs, and ceiling fans, right? So there are a whole lot of private players when it comes to power utilization category. So this is one way of looking at electrical engineering related jobs. There are a lot of jobs emerging in terms of new technologies which are solar, wind, electric vehicle, and there are a lot of applications related to artificial intelligence and machine learning in the area of power system management, in the area of renewable energy sources, and in the area of new electric mobility. So these are the domains where there are a lot of opportunities. Now, what do I advise you, Hari? So you need to focus on what exactly you like, or what exactly you are interested at, or what exactly you are good at, right? So you have to kind of understand your interest. You have to kind of apply your efforts in those areas, come up with systematic portfolio, kind of project profile within those areas so that your profile is shortlisted. If you are going for a public sector, definitely you need to be very sure about the entrance technical exams which they are conducting, and then you need to focus on how you will be appearing for the interview, right? So this is how your pathway, right, towards getting a job into public or private sector in electrical engineering as a whole. So I hope I answered the question from Hari. Let me go to the next question. Sweta is asking a question related to what are the concepts required to get into battery sector in EV. Okay, so Sweta, thanks for asking this question. If you are talking about electric vehicles, battery are critical components or very important components of electric vehicle. And if you talk about what are the concepts required, or what is a prerequisite, or what are the background do I need to enter into EV battery domain, right? So one thing is batteries are energy storage devices, right? So for energy storage devices, they are electrochemical devices or electrochemical units, right? So what you need to be very thorough is electrochemistry. What you need to be very good at is how the batteries are constructed, how do they operate, what are their characteristics, and in order to get into this, we need to understand what is a load characteristics and what is a battery characteristics. So let's say you have a kind of battery operated hand tool. Okay, so nowadays you see a lot of battery operated hand tools, which are, let's say, drilling machine. So if you have a battery operated drilling machine and you want to get into, let's say, this kind of product, right? So what you need to understand is what is the customer requirement, right? How much is the power required and energy required while the customer is going to use that product, which is battery operated, and what level of voltage and capacity are required, what kind of which chemistry will be best suited here, right? And how about charging, right? So those are the things which you must know as a kind of product design engineer or electric vehicle or battery operated system engineer. And these are the things which you can learn from by probably doing a mathematical simulation or by actually taking care of your calculations on energy and power, right? So one thing is you understand your application requirement. The second thing is you understand uh, your batteries and their behavior, right? So if you match these two things, you will be the right person to kind of get into the EV battery domain. So I hope I answered this question from you, Shweta. And next is the question from Sugan. Does EV domain decrease the application and scope of CFD due to removal of IC engine? Sugan, yes, EV does not have any IC engine, and you are right. There is no scope for doing internal combustion engine related CFD for electric vehicles. But CFD in general is a really excellent skill where you can still apply to a lot of fluid mechanics related physics happening in the EV, right? So one of the great example of the fluid mechanic or let's say the flow of fluid is the battery thermal management system. Again, you can apply this to motor thermal management, and you can apply to power converter temperature management as well. So EV components are electronic and electrical, and they get heated up when there are losses happening, similar to what happens in a engine. Due to losses, the heat will be generated, and you need to take care of cooling, right? So as you take care of cooling of an engine, obviously it's very different than electrical electronic cooling, but you need to take care of cooling of electrical electronic components as well. And there you apply a lot of computational fluid dynamics. Apart from this, you need to understand the aerodynamics, right? And you need to kind of estimate how much is the aerodynamic force required, how much is a aerodynamic force acting on the vehicle, and for which also CFD is the right skill. So even if EV is one such thing which is not having engine, I will not say the CFD is not applicable to EV, but there are areas in which CFD is equally applicable to EV technology as well. So I hope I answered that question from Sugan. Let me go to the next question from Naveen. Future scope in the field of electrical engineering. So Naveen, there are a lot of scope and opportunities related to freshers for electrical engineering as a whole field, right? So there are a lot of things happening to substation. There are a lot of things happening to, let's say, energy meters. And there are a lot of things happening to instrumentation. So what kind of job roles are available? So let's say some of the job roles are, let's say, maintenance and service engineers, let's say sales engineer. So let's say you are kind of a engineer who are actually selling electrical appliances, right? So let's say you are into air conditioners, right? So now air conditioner is electrical electronic product and it provides cooling, right? So you as a sales engineer need to understand what are the benefits and what are the features of the product that you are selling, right? So electrical engineering is a field. There are a lot of opportunities, and I would like to add 2 points here. One is sales engineer of let's say anything. It may be a current transformer, potential transformer, or it may be a home appliances, things which are running on electricity. And and it may be a service and maintenance engineer in a substation, right? So these are some of the examples of electrical engineering roles. Coming to a specific question, I think I covered earlier with uh, other question from other student asking about different domains of electrical engineering and the relevant job roles. So yeah, I think I can go with the next question from Vivek. Vivek is asking, please reply some practical replies okay, as we heard from faculty and seniors. Okay, thanks, Vivek. So Naveen is asking, I'm a mechanical engineer and working as a design engineer, but not in the automotive domain. I would like to work in automotive domain and specifically electric vehicle. And okay, so what skill should I develop to get placed in automotive EV domain being a mechanical engineer? So, Naveen, this is really a great question. So, Naveen, when you are looking for a job role into EV domain, what are the first things you need to understand? So, there are two things. One is electrical electronic system development, where you talk about motor design development, where you talk about power converter design and development, and electrical, let's say, battery and charger design, right? That is one aspect. The other aspect is how you are going to take care of their mountings, how you are going to take care of their cooling, how you are going to consider designing an enclosure for them, right? Or you can consider designing a structure which is well suited for them, right? So as a mechanical engineer, you need to understand how those components are working, right? And electrical engineers will be the right people who are good at designing those systems, right? So you as a mechanical engineer need to focus on your skills or mechanical skills where you kind of apply them to basically the domains, right? So let's say we are talking about motor, right? So now the motor is developing some speed, torque, and power. Now, as a mechanical engineer, you need to take care of how you are going to take this motor shaft power to the wheels, right? So, what is the kind of drivetrain design, right? Or power transmission system, mechanical power transmission system from motor shaft to the wheels. So that is one aspect of mechanical engineering. Another aspect related to motor is how you are going to fix the motor. So if your motor mounting is not proper, then your motor is going to vibrate. Then your motor is not going to work as expected, right? So how you fix them? What is your fixture design for motor? How you are going to mount and fix your motor in the vehicle body, or how you are going to fix it with a vehicle chassis. And you better understand as a mechanical engineer when there is a one object exerting some force, right? This particular object exerting some force from its shaft, it is that itself is going to experience that much amount of force, right? And your mounting of the motor is going to be really, really critical when you are talking about traction motor, right? So this is one of the thing which you need to look at, Naveen, as a mechanical engineer. Apart from this, there are a lot of opportunities in terms of battery assembly and battery manufacturing. So let's say when you have a good number of cells, let's say 3,000, 4,000, 8,000 number of cells together connected, how you take weight distribution of them, right? So how you are going to keep them and arrange them in your vehicle, so that your weight is distributed properly. How you are going to connect them electrically with help of mechanical materials, right? And how all this will be kind of treated as a one module, and how you are going to fix it, right? And what kind of enclosures are required to be designed, right? So the ingress protection, IP, which is very popularly known as. So IP, how you follow the certification guidelines for ingress protection for your devices, let it be motor, or battery pack or a charger or a power converter, how you take care of their enclosures, right? So that dust should not come inside. It may require to be waterproof, right? Or it may require to comply with certain standards, right? For example, IP65 or IP68, right? So you as a mechanical engineer need to understand what is a motor, how it works, and then how you design the enclosure and fixture for those components. Hope I answered that question from Naveen. So let me go to the next question. So Hari is asking about how to get into field of power electronics and machines as a fresher in private companies. So Hari, this is really a good question. What I will recommend you is if you are interested in getting into power electronics and machine drives, right? There are a lot of companies who are working on motors, motor drives, and as a complete solution, right? So let me share my screen and explain about this thing. So I would like to kind of explain you about what is an electric vehicle. So there are basically two systems. One is battery and one is motor, and you can again divide into let's say battery packs or number of cells connected together, battery management system, and battery charger, right? And there are a lot of other battery related items which are not included. I'm covering here major things. In motor system, you have actually the motor itself, right? Uh, and its mechanical power transmission starting from shaft of the motor to wheels. Then you have a motor controller, which is a power electronic unit, and you need to take care of motor fixture. Now, if you are interested in going into this domain, right? So you need to understand which are the companies working in this area and what are the skills they are looking at. So when you are looking for certain skills and when you are looking for job roles into the private companies in this particular area, I will say this area, right, where it's motor drives and power converters. You need to understand thoroughly about first thing is motors, how motors are designed, and what kind of traction motors are available. So sometimes you may need to control a DC motor, which is a brush type DC motor, or it may be a brushless type DC motor, or you may have specifically permanent magnet type of synchronous motor, right? So you need to understand different types of motor construction and working principle, and what kind of speed and torque you get. So this is the first thing. Then you need to also understand how motor controller actually functions, and how uh, the three-phase inverter receives power from battery and it provides power to the motor, right? So this is what you need to understand, and you can start applying for the relevant companies. Now, what are the relevant companies? So let us go into the EV ecosystem, design, manufacturing, and support. So first, so there are three points of a triangle, as I call it as the EV ecosystem. And first is a customer. So customer is the person who is going to buy the electric vehicle or who is going to take the service of electric vehicle as a shared mobility. So on one point, the customer is interested for a new technology because of the benefits, and those benefits can be a low running cost or very low rupees per kilometer, I will say, right? It may be a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, or a four-wheeler, but the customer is going to come to the new technology because of the advantages related to its economy, right? Or less rupees per kilometer of a driving, right? Then what happens at two? At two, there is a designer, right? So the designer is a part of the ecosystem, and he is going to kind of receive the interest that a customer is looking for equivalent auto rickshaw, which is not petrol, diesel, or CNG, but it is electric. Then there will be a prototyping and commercialization of the EV technology happening. And then third is a manufacturer. So the role of electrical electronic engineer as a power converter and machine drive is over here, right? So these are the two main EV ecosystem stakeholders, where you are a design or development engineer, or you are a manufacturing company, right? So and sometimes it may be a combination of both. It may be a same company doing both of these tasks, right? So this is about EV ecosystem and how the automotive market is divided, right? So you need to understand how the automotive market is divided. It is divided like this pyramid, right? So on the base of the pyramid, let us now talk in terms of starting from tier three suppliers or base of the pyramid. We'll start from the top end. So here you have a OEM, or let's say automotive company, let's say Tata, Mahindra, TVS, Bajaj, Honda, Hero, for example. They are going to assemble the systems and they will be making a vehicle, right? So they are going to buy the components from different suppliers, and they are going to assemble the vehicle and they are going to sell it to the customers. So here comes the automaker as one of the opportunity. The tier one is a module or a system supplier. So let's say you have an HVAC system, right? You have, let's say, battery system, or you have a motor drive system as a tier one supplier. Some of the examples are Bosch, Continental, and Magna, right? Those are the suppliers. And there are a lot of other module and system level suppliers, or they are called as a unit supplier. They will be entirely be responsible for supplying the unit, right? So they will not be giving you one or two components, or even the subsystems of that. They will be supplying you entire things, right? So there are tier one suppliers, and like tier one is dependent on tier two companies, and tier two is dependent on tier three companies, right? So let's say if you are talking about a power converter and inverter system along with the motor, so there will be a motor supplier, there will be power semiconductor device supplier, there will be a PCB service engineering company, and there will be electronic part suppliers, right? So that's how the entire ecosystem and the entire pyramid of different category of companies work with in the case of automobiles. So these are the opportunities, and this is what you will kind of have as a reference when you consider entering into the private sector companies into EV. So I hope I answered the question from Hari. Let me go back to the next question. So Rachel is asking, apart from MATLAB, what are the tools that one should mandatorily know to get in any sector in EV? So this is an excellent question. So MATLAB and Simulink is one such system level simulation software where you can do the simulation to estimate, simulation to kind of have a system study, and simulation to kind of provide a proof of concept, right? So let's say you are planning to design one vehicle with one type of motor and another type of power converter, and you want to get the idea about the range of the electric vehicle, and you have some information and awareness of efficiency of every components. So you can use MATLAB and Simulink for those type of simulation. Apart from this, right, which are the software tools which are very popular to get into this? So apart from this, there is, let's say, if you want to design a motor, how you can do the 2D and 3D analysis, and how you can solve the Maxwell's equations, right? So basically, you need to kind of understand which are all the things that go inside the electric vehicle. And if I show you this slide, EV is a kind of combination of electric motor, power electronics, embedded systems, battery, and so on. So MATLAB and Simulink is one such example where you can do a system level simulation. Now, let's say if you want to design a motor, then there is a different software, and which are the popular softwares in the industry are MotorCAD from ANSYS, ANSYS Maxwell for 2D and 3D analysis, and JMAC, right? And for designing the motor. Now, let's say you want to do battery analysis, right? So, and you want to apply cooling technology, and you want to understand the thermal management of a battery, then you have to use ANSYS Fluent for that, right? So ANSYS Fluent is one such example where you can do such a simulation. Now, apart from this, power converter design and development, and this is known as a hardware design. So what are the software tools that are relevant in hardware design? So hardware design is an important part because your motor controller, your charger is all electronics item, right? And how those electronic items are designed, those are based on a circuit simulator. So MATLAB is also kind of a circuit simulator, but it's not very really helpful into hardware design. So for hardware design, you can you can think of tools such as Spice Simulator. So PSpice and LTSpice are Spice Simulator. Now you have your circuit design and you have your circuit validated in the computer. Now you want to realize that circuit into the hardware. How you will do that? You need to design a PCB for that, right? So there are popular PCB design software such as Altium Designer, which is part of your power hardware design. And these are software tools. So for communication and embedded systems also, you need to do a lot of embedded C programming for microcontrollers. And also you need to understand how your control system is implemented as a part of embedded system. So embedded system is also one of the key skill over here, and there are a lot of software tools according to the hardware target which you have selected, and there are tools which can actually convert your simulation diagram into the code, right? From diagram to code, it is called automatic code generation. So that can be done with the help of Altair Embed. So these are all different tools which are necessary apart from MATLAB and Simulink. And at Skilling, if you are taking a EV Masters program, we are kind of covering all the relevant software tools. So let me just show you the kind of software tools that we are offering in our master's program. Yeah, so here is a list of software tools which are included as a part of EV Masters program. So here, MATLAB Simulink. Apart from this five, we have added Altair Embed as well, which is from diagram to code for a microcontroller. So these are the software tools which are very popular apart from MATLAB and Simulink, and I hope I answered your question. Okay, so that's about the question from Rachel. Vinay is asking, what are the employment opportunities for electrical engineers and what is the pay scale that we can expect? Okay, so Vinay is asking a really important question related to the pay scale at entry level. So Vinay, basically, there is a kind of a balance between what you are getting into and what is your starting pay, right? So if you are entering into the core companies, right, at the fresher level, they are going to offer you the salary, which is something in the range of 20 to 30,000, right, per month. And that is what the pay scale you can expect from the core engineering company which are actually the small, medium, and medium level companies, right? And so provided these companies are not multinational companies, right? So and those companies are the right point of entry because as a fresher, if you enter into the multinational company, probably you will not grow as if you are in a small company. So you really do big projects, right? And in your level of involvement is higher if the level of the company you are entering into is a small company, right? So entering into a small company with a small pay package is a good decision, provided that you are learning the right things, and then you have a vertical entry into MNC after, let's say, 2 years or 3 years of time, then definitely your experience will be appreciated much. So this is about the pay scale you can expect at the entry level. in electrical engineering. Vishal is asking, I have qualified into GATE, and what will be my next step to sustain in electrical engineering domain? I'm preparing for the public sector exam, and apart from it, how can I move forward with having this degree in my hand? Okay. And third is, please give me possible ways to be placed in the engineering field with opportunities based on knowledge I acquired in this domain. So Vishal, yeah, so it seems like you are very much inclined to public sector opportunities, but private sector is equally growing well, and there are a lot of opportunities there, and there is a very big queue, right, for entering into a public sector companies. I'm not saying there are no opportunities and public sector companies are not good, but the entry is really difficult. And on the other hand, there are a lot of private sector companies starting from small companies to big companies, and there are a lot of opportunities when you compare to public sector companies. So, what should be the way you should consider yourself, Vishal, as in order to sustain in electrical engineering domain? So in order to sustain in electrical engineering domain, you need to be very thorough with fundamentals. You need to be very clear on, let's say, using the software tools for solving the core engineering problems. So if I give you the example of core engineering problems, it may be, let's say, power system protection design. It may be substation design and switchyard component selection. It may be related to developing the firmware for motor control, developing the algorithms for microcontrollers which are used for, let's say, energy meters or numerical relays. So these are some of the areas in which your concepts will be applied. And when you are going to apply these concepts into core domain, what you kind of you stick to what you know, and you kind of get an opportunity to apply what you know into the right field, right? So make sure that you are choosing a job role, or you are choosing a learning path which is relevant to your interest and which is going to help you to dive deep into the technical field, right? So to sustain into the core field, you need to be very thorough with technical fundamentals, right? So that's what I will answer. And related to your third question, what are the ways to be placed in engineering field, right? So when you are looking for placement in core engineering field, you need to be very broad-minded in order to understand what a company is doing, right? So let's say you need to be very clear on what is the job role that you are applying, and you should have a tailor-made profile for each and every job role, right? So you need to understand what a company is asking for, and you need to look into what you have in your profile, and if whether these two are matching or not. And these two may not match perfectly, but you need to take care that there is a good amount of matching of your interest in what company is doing. So this is the very first thing. The second thing is how you are prepared, right? And how you highlight what you have done to the hiring manager, right? So the hiring manager or those people who are shortlisting your profile, your technical people, and make sure your profile is updated. Make sure your whatever relevant work you have done related to that job role, you have added into that, and it should be a very genuine information. If you haven't done anything related to that, it's okay, but you can highlight your key skills, or you can highlight what are the things that you have learned and what are the things that you have done in your final year project. And based on that, once it is shortlisted, you get a chance to speak with a hiring manager, and you're appearing for a technical interview. You need to take care of the things like you will be asked a very basic questions. It may be from your first or second semester of your electrical engineering, and you need to be very ready to answer the questions which are relevant to your projects which you have mentioned in your profile. So yeah, so these are some of the guidelines, Vishal, and I hope I answered your question. Next is what are the concepts required to get into ADAS, and what are the tools that we should get our hands on for ADAS? Okay, so this is really interesting question, and I will share my screen and explain you about the ADAS related courses. ADAS is basically a domain where you kind of look into the area where you enhance safety and comfort of the driver. Okay, so if I explain you very quickly what is ADAS, so let's say when you start entering into your car, right? So it's a keyless entry, right? So you no longer need to apply key and open the lock manually like we were unlocking earlier. Now it's a electronic unlock, right? So this is one just feature which helps the passenger and driver to use the vehicle. Now there are a lot of other ways in which, let's say, how you want to adjust your steering, how you want to adjust the height of your seat, how whether you have a good visibility of the rear side of the vehicle, whether you have good visibility of the front side of the vehicle, and when are you applying the braking? Is it safe for you to apply the brakes that excessively? How you can kind of avoid crash, right? And to a later extent or to a higher degree of autonomy, you can think of how the car takes care of its own control, right? Or how it can be a self-driving car. So these all things are relevant to ADAS. Now, what are the things you need to understand from ADAS point of view? I will take help of our courses which we are offering as a advanced driver assistance course. And the things you need to understand is how ADAS related systems or modules will be developed. So ADAS related modules will make fall into the category of let's say purely electronic thing such as rear parking camera, or it may be a combination of things which is electronic power steering, or it may be a combination of things where you are dealing with the engine control unit. So what is most important thing here is developing the insight which is required for model based development. So model-based development is very important thing, and there are a lot of tools available for model-based development, but MATLAB and Simulink is one of the popular tools. And once you develop this insight, you kind of solve your problem with block diagrams, right? And you kind of work on the ideas, right, which is going to help you implement in a computer environment, and you will be able to kind of solve them. Okay, so the core ADAS related things, right, which we are covering into our course is related to traffic sign recognition, right? So whether how you recognize the traffic light, right? And how you kind of apply adaptive cruise control algorithms, how you kind of work on anti-lock braking system and do the simulation of that. And we will also kind of work on a lot of other features which are related to steering columns, right? So these are the ADAS features, and you need to understand these ADAS features, and you have to develop kind of insight where you test your system, right? Because when it is relevant to your safety, when you are claiming that due to this system, my safety of the vehicle and the safety of the passenger is increased, you have to test the system thoroughly. And how do you test them? You need to understand what is kind of a software development life cycle, what is a V curve for the model development and testing, right? And what are software in loop testing and model in loop testing and hardware in loop testing concepts. And you need to also understand how you will develop a C code from the diagram, right? How you develop the C code for the hardware type. So these are the things which are very relevant for ADAS. and with reference to hands-on and how to do the programming for automotive embedded systems. So I hope I answered that question from Rachel. Let us go ahead with the next question. So Vasudev is asking, I have done internship in power electronics area, and will this internship experience be considered in interview? Obviously, Vasudev. So let's say if you are a entry level candidate, right, and you are just passed out, and this is your first job, right? So you do not have any other job experience. Then definitely your internship is going to be your job equivalent experience for the candidate and for the interviewer. And therefore, if you have done an internship in a reputed organization like IISc, obviously it will be a great thing to be added into your profile, and you need to kind of be ready to defend what work you have done in during that internship, and maybe you can be ready with the report and the presentation that you have prepared as a part of that internship. Okay, so internships are actually the kind of a mini hands-on experience. It is as equal as you are working as an engineer, but you are kind of a new person, right? So intern is a kind of new person into the system, and he is going to be kind of helping the team overall with their routine task, or it may be a special task taken, right? So the interns are the people who actually get exposure to new projects. Interns are the people who actually get exposure to how people work in an organization as a team, and interns also get exposure into the technical projects where you get the guidance from the technical manager and the engineers who are working on that project. So make sure you take the best benefit out of your internship. Consider the companies, right, who are working in the similar domain as of your internship, and you can start applying to those companies that will really help you. Okay, so I think I addressed all the question from you all, and okay, so Rachel is asking one question: does EV have good scope in abroad? Yes, obviously. So, if you have heard of China, right, what China is doing in the EV, right, probably larger percentage of the vehicle running on the road are EV in China. If you consider, let's say, the countries like Denmark, Netherlands, and a lot of other European and US, including US, that they are really doing well in terms of electric vehicles. So, if you are planning to have your higher education in abroad or out of India, yes, definitely there are really good scope. If you are already settled there, and you already have a kind of advantage of having a master's degree or being there, what you need to kind of look into is there are a lot of companies who are into charging infrastructure. There are a lot of companies who are dealing into fleet sharing of electric vehicles. There are a lot of companies who are into maintenance and repair and recycling of EV related components. So yes, definitely there are really good scope of EVs across the world, and including India as well. So Hari is asking, can you suggest any private companies that hire freshers? Yes, Hari. So there are a lot of companies which are kind of uh, relaxing their criteria from 0 to 2 years or 0 to 1 years of experience for their vacancies, and they hire freshers as well. Let me show you my screen where I have listed a couple of companies uh, which are kind of related to this domain. Okay, so here I'm sharing a Excel sheet, and I hope it is visible to you. So let's say if you are a system modeling and simulation engineer, right, and you have the right set of skills over there, it may be MATLAB and Simulink modeling, Then the automaker companies like Tata Mahindra, TVS, Bajaj, Ashok Leyland, and consulting firms like TCS and Accenture are good example of the companies. If you are having the right skill of hardware design engineer as a power electronic engineer and PCB design engineer, there are automotive component suppliers such as Bosch, Continental, Hella, Valeo. If you have the right skill as a motor design engineer, these are the companies where you can look at ABB, Siemens, Crompton Greaves. And let's say if you are a BMS application engineer, you can consider startup companies like Ola Electric, Ather, Ion Energy, Ultraviolet, and a lot of other battery pack manufacturing companies. So if you are an automotive embedded system engineer, probably there are all of these companies which demands for embedded system engineers, and and most of the companies who are working on microcontrollers and their programming, they will hire embedded system engineers. So these are some of the examples which I would like to share over here, and I hope this information was useful to you, Hari. And so I would like to kind of wait for a while. If you have any other questions, feel free to type your question into the chat box. And after a while, I will be also explaining some important things which you need to consider being an electrical engineer, and what are the right set of skills that you have to add into your profile. So yeah, so I will be waiting for a few more questions if we have, and I will be kind of then taking through a presentation which discusses about kind of what happens with EV and HEV, and what is the scope, and I will dive deep, little technical into this, and probably we'll discuss more on EVs and their technologies. So feel free to drop your question into the chat box, and let me see if we have any questions. Okay, I hope I haven't missed any questions from the chat box. So Vasudev is asking, is a skilling master's program equivalent to a master's program offered by university? Are there companies in India which offer high salary in core hardware, power electronics field? Yes, Vasudev, obviously. So there are two parts of this question. First thing is related to EV Masters program. So I'm sharing my screen, and I'm going to talk about what we are offering as a EV Masters program. And definitely, I will come back to your question on pay scale offered by hardware engineers in power electronics area. So let me start explaining you about EV Masters program. So guys, what you need to understand is EV, right? Or what do you need to know about EV is there are two things, right? So first is you have to consider the vehicle as one system, and this is the approach which automaker companies will have. So they are going to consider the vehicle as one unit, and they will be kind of integrating the components, right, from other manufacturers. And you need to kind of understand when you have a big picture of looking at a vehicle, you kind of understand what is the environment in which the vehicle works, what is a kind of driving condition which is given by the driver, and what are the kind of external factors that affect in working of the vehicle, right? So this is the approach which is a vehicle as one system. And there is another approach where you think of all the systems explored for EV, which are related to motor, power converter, battery, and control. So these are the subsystems, or where we call it as a approach, which is relevant to vehicle as a combination of many systems. So now, instead of considering the vehicle as one system, now you think of individual subsystems in detail, and then you work on design development and analysis of individual components. And those components are motor, power converters, battery systems, and embedded systems or control systems. So basically, you need to develop this insight first, this one, and then you can dive deep into this. So, EV Masters program offered by Skilling exactly gives you the idea about vehicle as a one system first, and then you understand the vehicle as a combination of many systems, or you dive deep into subsystems. So, this is what the EV Masters program is going to offer as a learning approach. Now, if I go through this web page, right, on our skilling website, this is really interesting. If you are interested, I'm going to type this into the chat box so that probably later you can go through this link and study more about EV Masters program. So, what are the courses that we are offering? We are actually offering 12 number of courses as a part of first phase and second phase. And here you can have a look at the list of courses. And let me actually kind of take you through the courses which are divided domain wise. And this is how the courses will look like if you divide them domain wise. So we are offering the courses in 5 domains. So the first domain is the introductory approach, or looking at the vehicle as a one system or a big picture, right? And that is what is called as a powertrain architecture. So you need to understand how your vehicle works. You need to understand how do you learn to simulate the vehicle in a computer, and how do you kind of control the powertrain, right? So these are the 3 courses which we are offering as a EV Masters program, and this will give you the idea about big picture of entire EV technology. Now, once you are aware of entirely how an EV works and how to model an EV, then you can actually work on modeling, design, and analysis of individual components. What are those individual components? Motor is one of this component. Energy storage is another component, and power converter is another component, and embedded system is the fourth component. So we are offering you the courses which helps you to step by step do the design analysis and simulation of these components. So here we are using NSys Maxwell for design of the traction motors. Here we are offering you the courses related to lithium-ion battery, pack and battery management system, and fuel cell and capacitor. And in this section, you will be learning how the power converters are designed and developed, and how you control them digitally with the help of popular microcontrollers, and how you can realize them in hardware with the PCB design. And in the last section, you will learn about advanced driver assistance systems and automotive embedded systems. So this is the structure of the EV Masters program, which Skilling is offering. And each course is actually the combination of 12 industry relevant problems, which are short problems, or we call it as challenges, and 2 major problems, which we call it as a project, right? So you will be kind of given the treatment starting from very basics and going to the advanced level at the end of the course, and then asking you the relevant questions which an engineer will be solving on a day-to-day basis, right? So you as a Skilling learner will be asked the question which are actually the questions faced by an engineer working in a company. And if you are able to provide the solution to the problems which an engineer is going to provide, you are as equal as having the experience of doing engineering, right? So we kind of help you to do engineering virtually with the help of software tools, and that is how these courses will help you to kind of bring your career to the next level, bring your technical capabilities to the next level. So yeah, so that's about EV Masters program that we are offering, and obviously you can have a look at the individual course syllabus here in this webpage. Here we are having all the explanation and detail of individual courses, right? And you can have a look at the components that we are offering, and you can also look at how we are able to help since couple of years to the previous students, right? And how the job placements come to you if you are taking a master's program. So this is about EV masters. If you have any questions related to EV masters program at Skillink, feel free to type your question into the chat box, and I will be most happy to answer that question. So let me also go into the detail of what are the scope and opportunities in EV, right? And how actually we help you as an engineer to kind of get into the right domain. So, what are the problems? Why don't we see many electric vehicles on the road in India? Right? We talk about US, Europe. There is a good number of percentage of vehicles which are electric, but not in India. What is the reason? The reason is price in the volume, right? And it's a basically chicken and egg problem. So if the volume is going to increase, then the price will come down. And if the price is affordable, then only the customers are going to buy electric vehicles, right? So that right now, if you compare your vehicle with IC engine and electric, the electric vehicles are very costly when you are investing at the time of purchasing the vehicle, but it is going to be very economical when you are going to run that vehicle throughout the life of the vehicle, right? So if you consider the total cost of ownership, then definitely electric vehicles are a winner over there, right? So you buy a petrol vehicle, you run your petrol vehicle for the 5 years, and you buy an electric vehicle and you run your electric vehicle for 5 years. Definitely EVs are going to be beneficial, right? So the other reasons why we are not having EV on roads and why this technology is not penetrating to the market, this technology is still under development and it is getting ready for mass manufacturing, and therefore it is costly, right? So it's a new technology and people are getting ready for it, and therefore it's costly. There is a lack of infrastructure related to raw material for making the permanent magnet motors, making the lithium ion cells, and there are few charging stations, and there are few people, or there are few resources, or there are few engineers in this domain who actually aware of electric vehicle technology, right? So this is one of the reason, and this is where Skillink is working on. And probably the other reason is limited service and the maintenance support. So not there are many repair shop or service centers, such as you will find it for your petrol or diesel based vehicle, and replacement of components is also an issue related to electric vehicles. So these are some of the limitations which I'm talking about. Now, what are the scope? There are a lot of scope. Probably, if I tell you about what Tata is doing, what Maruti is doing, and what Morris Garage is coming up with. So Tatas are also coming up with Tiago, Tigor, and Nexon EV category of vehicle. Maruti has also come up with Ertiga hybrid technology, which is going to improve the mileage of the vehicle. And Morris Garage, and there are a lot of other companies coming up with pure EV in India. So this is what is actually happening with automotive, and believe it or not, every single automobile company who is into automotive component development, or who are into two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and four-wheelers, right? And even special category vehicles, they are looking at EV as an option, EV as a next technology, or EV as a next thing replacing the existing inefficient systems, right? So everybody is going to sooner or later going to go for electric because of their economical advantages, right? So this is one thing which is really positive about EV. And if you think of the recent announcement, there is a Hyundai Verna, which is going to be in a mild hybrid category. Mahindra is already having E2O since 2013 as a full electric vehicle. Mahindra is also working on a couple of other variants like Verito and KUV. And there are also a lot of other automotive players who have committed they will be coming up with pure EV. And you already know Tesla also entering into the Indian market recently. So there are a lot of things happening. But if you look at what is exactly inside an EV, EV is, as I have um, explained in this slide, it is a traction motor. Here you can see in the red color, along with its power transmission system and a power electronic controller in the blue color over here, and the batteries, traction batteries in yellow color over here. So this is a front driven vehicle, front wheel drive with a motor. And there are a lot of other auxiliary systems which are cooling required for power converters. There will be a charger as well. There will be another auxiliary battery which is low voltage, and a lot of other systems. So these are the components inside an electric vehicle, and there are probably thousands of companies which are dealing with those components and those system of components, right? And there are really good amount of scope and opportunity if you know the right skills in this domain. So yeah, so that's it about EV Masters program at Skilling. And let me take up the next question from Vasudev. So Vasudev is asking another question. Are there any companies in India which offer high salary in core hardware power electronic field? So yes, obviously, Vasudev. So it depends on what is the level of skills that you have. Okay, so let's say you are the person who is having a good grip on understanding of how motor works, understanding of selection of power semiconductor devices and other analog and digital electronic components. You have right skills for PCB design. You have the right skill for maintaining the bill of material. You have the right skills for kind of testing those electronic products along with motor and everything, right? Then you are the right person to enter into this domain, right? And if I name a few giant companies in India who are working in this area, Bigatron is one of the company which I have already given an example previously. Delta Electronics, a Taiwanese company, is also kind of expanding its power electronic related products. Eaton is one of the multinational company in India working on power electronic related things, and there are a whole lot of the list is really big, right? So there are a good number of companies which can consider paying a higher salary to the fresher having the right skills. So yeah, so this is about your question, Vasudev. And Hemant is asking one question. If one wants to pursue masters in electric vehicle abroad, which specialization will you prefer? So Hemant, if you are targeting masters from abroad or a reputed university across the world, the right things, you need to choose your domain and probably start working on those domain and start kind of working on the projects and convert your project outcomes into publication, and then submit your application with a statement of purpose and your detailed CV on the projects which you have worked on. So the specializations which I would like to recommend you is power electronics and motor drives, energy storage technology. There are equal amount of opportunities for power systems as well, where the researchers and faculties will be considering the vehicle as a electrical load. And what happens to electrical grid when you are going to connect an electric vehicle as a charging device, and it may actually discharge through the grid as well, right? Where it is vehicle to grid. So there are equal opportunities in power systems, power quality in terms of electric vehicles, and there are equal amount of opportunities in mechanical and automotive domain and aerospace domain as well. So people are talking about more electric aircraft. People are doing research on more electric ship, or using battery storage and using the electric motors for the propulsion of marine vehicles, right? So these are some of the specializations which you can consider applying. And yeah, so I hope this will help you, Hemant. Thanks a lot. So I think that's it from my side related to electrical engineering as a career option, and what we are offering you as EV Masters program. And guys, there is one more announcement I would like to make here. Those who are from electrical background and electronic background, and if you are interested in power converters, right? Because power converters are everywhere. So if you are interested in power converters, we have recently launched a master's program in power converters. So I would like to also kind of go through our next master's program in electrical and electronics area. Power converters are everywhere. You think of power generating devices, right? Where those are alternators, those are heavy electrical machines, and how they are producing the reactive power which is required in the system. They are going to change the excitation. Now, there will be electronic excitation systems or automatic voltage regulator system, which is again a power electronic device. So starting from power plant, which deals with the excitation system of a synchronous generator or an alternator, that is a power converter system. You think of your cell phone charger, you think of your laptop battery charger, those are power electronic devices. You name it as a smart inverter devices, which are refrigerator, air conditioner, or washing machine. Everything is now coming up with 3-star, 4-star, 5-star rating with a energy efficient inverter technology. You think of the devices, let it be LED lighting. You think of devices which are, let's say, relevant to kind of ceiling fan, or you think of anything which is electrical electronic, there will be a power converter and a power supply over there. So what are the courses that we are offering as a power converter masters? We are offering you power converter design and simulation. We are offering you the courses relevant to AC and DC rectifiers, fundamentals of DC-DC converters, and modeling of power converters from industrial drives point of view, and advanced PCB design using Altium Designer. So these are the 6 set of courses which we are offering you as a part of Power Converter Masters program, and probably you can consider having a look at this as well. So yeah, I hope this information is useful, and let me also share the scope of power converter masters. Why is it important to learn about power converters, and what are application areas? As I said, it's almost everywhere, right? So you think of your home and industrial appliances, the UPS, the induction heating. Nowadays, instead of using the LPG cylinder, you will start using electricity for cooking, and that's where the induction stove come into picture. Let it be wind and solar. There are a lot of power electronic devices, including electric vehicles. LED lighting or brushless DC motors for ceiling fan. You might have seen Sachin Tendulkar coming into the advertisement for energy efficient ceiling fan, which are using brushless DC motors, right? And if you are thinking of power grid or electrical power system, there are a lot of opportunities for power converters in high voltage DC transmission and flexible AC transmission systems as well. So therefore, it is really important to learn about power converters design and analysis. And who can take this program? If you are a student of this branch, or if you are a working professional who is interested in enhancing their skill set into these areas, we really dive deep into power converters and their simulation and control. If you are interested in magnetic design, if you are interested in PCB design, then you should definitely consider taking up this master's program. And what are the relevant job roles? So, if you are taking up a power electronic master's, which is equivalent to kind of a master's program from the university, what you will be learning is, and what you will be capable of doing is, you will be kind of able to become power electronics modeling and simulation engineer. You can be the power converter related magnetics design engineer. You can apply for the vacancies related to motor drives, design engineer, hardware design engineer, and PCB design engineer. So these are some of the example job roles for power converter masters. I hope this information was useful to you. So we have one question. Okay, will year gaps have negative impact on getting the placement in private companies? Venkat is asking this question. Venkat, you are really asking a meaningful question, and the answer is yes. So, what is that you are kind of doing, right, to upgrade yourself or to get into the right job is what going to matter, right? So if let's say I am the hiring manager and I look at a profile where the year of graduation is let's say 2014 and the experience or the first job starts from 2016, I will be the person who will be asking for uh, like how you engage yourself, right? Not to kind of asking a justification what you did and why you did, kind of asking how did you engage yourself during those years, right? That will be the question. And if you do not have any proper answer to that, what you did during those years, it will be really embarrassing situation where you end up having in an interview, right? So Venkat, what I highly recommend you is the year gaps or the number of years you spent on getting the right things for you, or maybe a higher studies or maybe the right job. You need to kind of be on the right track uh, to avoid such a situation, right? So how you ensure that you are on the right track? So are you learning enough? Are you upgrading yourself? Are you learning the right set of skills which are required for the companies, or to work like an engineer? That is what is going to matter a lot. And that is where we as a skilling kind of give you the right kind of a experience, as if you are an engineer, right? As if you are a fresher already absorbed into a company and working on a project. That is the experience which we are going to give you, right? So consider taking the master's program from skilling. That is what how you will upgrade yourself, how you will kind of keep yourself updated for the next set of jobs which are coming in the market, and keep on applying, right? And never kind of think that my profile is really not good and my profile will not be shortlisted. Consider applying for right set of jobs, right? And every time you send an email to HR, or every time you send a profile to the new job role, make sure that you are improvising, right? You are changing your email language, you are changing your you are improving your profile with the new projects, you are improving your profile, you are actually making a profile which is relevant to that job role, right? And whatever you have done which is relevant to that job role is very important. So keep on applying, keep on getting into the right track, right? So whenever, let's say in future, someone is going to ask you, okay, you spend around 1 year of time doing nothing, then you can definitely be confident and answer, hey, actually, I invested my time into upgrading myself by doing this XYZ things, and as a result of that, I got my first job, right? So that's what you should consider answering if you have a year gaps, right? So I hope this was really helpful to you, Venkat, and I'm ready for going with the next question. If you have any, here one more question, Vijay Kumar, how to become an electrical entrepreneur? So Vijay, probably first thing I noticed is entrepreneur. Uh, Spelling is not correct. I do not want to highlight that. I may be mispronouncing it. But yeah, what are the things as an electrical engineer as you can start on your own is really a good question. So Vijay, let me kind of give you the idea about what you can do on your own and how you can start on your own in electrical electronic area. So there are a lot of companies which are dependent on other companies. So let's say we are a company who are manufacturing light and bulb, right? Let's say we are Bajaj Electrical. Now, Bajaj Electrical may not be able to develop a new technology considering that set of people or considering their skills of the people already employed, right? And they cannot stop selling what they are selling as a CFL bulbs and immediately switch to LED, but they will gradually come to a new technology. And when they are going to switch to a new technology, they need a lot of help from other companies. So you can be a company who are a consultant company where you take up a project where you design and develop some technology and transfer and sell your technology to the company who will be manufacturing. Okay, so this is one idea where you develop technology as a freelancer or as a consultant, and maybe your startup in that area dealing with multiple projects, right? The other area is the new technology. So let's say solar, how solar is coming into market, right? So probably Tata Power and Adani and a lot of other big companies like Reliance, they entered into solar very late, right? And because they are a very giant, they have a huge dynamics and huge inertia doing new things, right? And there were a lot of new companies in solar dealing with the rooftop, dealing with supplying the solar cell related components, integrating or manufacturing solar panels, and doing the wiring related things, doing structural related things, and doing kind of inverter related service and maintenance, and so on. So there are a lot of scope and opportunity for starting a new company. If you have a really good idea, which is having a business potential and which you are able to solve it technically, right? Then you are the right person to start your own company. So yeah, so in terms of electrical electronics, there are a lot of opportunity if you are, let's say, interested in specifically battery design. So there are a lot of manufacturers of cells, let's say LG, Samsung, and Panasonic, but there are very few companies who are actually going to provide you the entire battery pack as a solution. So you can consider designing your own battery pack and probably supplying it to, let's say, who are cycle manufacturers who want to convert their bicycle into electric, and you may think of a very small battery pack. So if you are developing the right set of battery pack, and if you are able to provide it at a right cost with the right quality, right, a good number of life cycle and good service on your battery pack, you should be kind of the owner of one of the company who is kind of solving the problem in the market. So you dive deep into the market and try to see where are the gaps, try to see what is that you are good at and what kind of technical solution you can propose, and what are the roles that you can play. right? So because if you are thinking of starting on your own, you will not have a really big team. So you need to think of whether you will be as a single person able to play all the roles, right? And if you are kind of able to convince the first few set of people, and you are able to kind of sell them your idea, right? Convince them with your idea and build a trust and build a relationship, then definitely your company will do well. So that's it about entrepreneurship in electrical engineering, Vijay. And thanks for asking that question. So I hope you got good insight to entrepreneurship related to electrical engineering domain. So thanks a lot for participating into this session, and wish you all the best. Stay safe, guys. Take care of yourself. Thank you, everyone.